Hey everybody, welcome to How to Be a Real One Percenter. This is a podcast where we explore authentic success. It's achieving breakthrough results when achieving our true potential in life while also remaining really true to who we are. We have another really special episode today. We've taken the last one and this one to deepen some of the clips or some of the gems that guests have given us. We've had 7 great guests now on the podcast to date. Each of them has brought their own gift or their own, profound sharing to the podcast, and we're now taking some snippets, key snippets from them, and we're delving deeper into them. And the idea of that is for you to be able to get your results. On this podcast, we don't just want you to take away feel-good snippets so that you can go, oh, hey, that was really cool, or feel good for a few minutes. We want you to really take some rare understanding so that you can apply it to your own life and do just that. Have your most authentic, truly authentic, successful life and be true to who you are to the greatest degree that you possibly can. So we've got a couple of amazing guests that we're going to listen to 2 snippets from. Our 4th and 5th guests on the podcast were Kaushik Kumar and Christie Whitehill. We're going to listen to a little clip from each one of them, beginning with Kaushik, and we're going to just really unpack it. We're going to discuss what we did to help get those results, and furthermore, what can you do to start getting some just more profound results in your own life. So let's have a listen here to Kaushik. He's going to share with us for a bit, and then we're going to come back and unpack it.
So this is something I've discovered quite recently, actually. It's going with the flow, and I'll explain that a little bit more. So one of the big sort of discoveries for me with this work is living a life that's authentic to me. And authentic is a buzzword that you hear everywhere, and it's often got quite a lot of ego associated to it. But authenticity, when it truly comes to your life, is when things just happen. Things just go with the flow. There's no resistance. There's no nothing that stops you in the tracks. There's no fear, which is a big one for me. There's no untoward emotions that sort of enter the picture. So if I could introduce one concept of the work that we've done to people that listen to this podcast, it would be to find out what that authenticity is for you. And it's unfortunately not something that you can read in a book or be told by a coach. It's actually something that you have to discover for yourself. Yeah. And it's a hard journey. It took me probably 4 years to find out what that was for me. So, but I'm forever grateful that I hung in there and found it, because life is so much more different now.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, and I was going to say it's a lot more free flowing.
Yeah. Wow. That's a pretty profound thing to say. That of all the things that Kaushik has experienced, which we've covered a number of different aspects and different approaches, the one thing he would share the most after years of being involved in the work is the importance of being authentically clear. And I really appreciated his courage in saying, that wasn't easy. And it took quite some time. It's been layers of it. But to really get to the gist of the truth of it took 4 years, which is and it's 4 years of dedicated work, not, occasional work or whatever the case might be. It was real work on his part to get there. But to say that that's something that he's the most, appreciative for, and the thing that's made the most difference in his life is a profound thing for us to explore. I'd like to start by sharing my own journey, that when I had a turnaround in my life and realized, hey, I want to fulfill my potential, I want to live my greatest life, I started going to teachers, right? And I wanted to find out how. And one of the most common themes was, you have to find your clarity of purpose, right? If you're going to get your greatest results, find your clarity of purpose. And so I began looking for it. What is my purpose and what is my clarity? And my own journey is that after about 18 years of trying, I still didn't feel like I had found it. And it was painful. I thought, what am I doing wrong? What's going on with me? Why? And I knew it because I didn't feel it. Even though I had, kind of moments of it, or I felt maybe I'd found this part of it, didn't really feel connected to who I really was. And I knew it because I felt disjointed. I felt that disconnection, that I knew life could be something different than what I was taking on. So I was super appreciative of Kaushik for his honesty. And so what did we do? What did we do to help Kaushik get to that level of certainty that was readily seeable, as far as I'm concerned, as he was sharing? Well, we took a look firstly at, why does it take that period of time? Why, or it doesn't have to be time, but why is it challenging to get to true clarity? And I think we need to understand first that it's because we need to first understand how we developed our sense of purpose at the beginning, right? From the time that we're children, young children, as soon as we have consciousness and can cognize things, we may not realize it, but what we're learning is that we're here to please other people, right? So our parents have an idea for the life that we should live. Our teachers have have a way of looking at the way life should be and what should be important to us. Our siblings might have that. Society might have that. Television programs might have that. So we're getting it from everywhere. What we should be like, what should be important to us, and what success means. And what we haven't realized, I think, is a great society. I mean, I've had some of my most important, very, very high level, I guess you could call it, or popular teachers not tell me this, not understand it. They were kind of in it as well. But upon delving into it further, I realized, look, I'm just not finding my connection. And why I realized that was there were so many other messages since the time I was a child that told me what success looked like. I never had the opportunity to figure out for myself. And that's what I find that we go through. We get inundated with so many messages about what being a good person is or being a successful person is. We're not given the chance to actually go, hey, wait a second. Everyone is different. Who am I? What am I doing here? What's going to inspire me? What fulfills me? Something that a lot of years of this work has taught me in my own personal development journey is we are all unique individuals. We're all here to potentially do something different or to live life our way. There is no the way to live. And when other people are sharing what success looks like, they're only passing on or sharing what they think. And of course, what they think got passed on by other people that did the same thing and other people that did the same thing. This is why I'm so dedicated to helping people to find, who are you? What is your genuine self? What do you really want with your life? Because until you find that, you're not going to get the greatest fulfillment and satisfaction out of life. And it's people like Kaushik that are willing to do the work, which is, as he said, not easy. It's not easy confronting those things. It's not easy saying, well, if we take a look at some of the things that we did, we had to look at, what did you decide based on what other people said success looks like, and how's that working for you? Like, is it making you feel happy and joyful, or not? He said, well, no. By the time I started this work, he was feeling like a lot of us feel, like he was failing, like he was letting people down, all these types of things. And it's in that space, there's no way to find who and what we really are and what we really want. So what we needed to do first was to start understanding the story that Kaushik had put on top of his true self. Things like, what did people say, or what did you see in your life and interpret success was? And so he started to say, well, my parents taught me this, and, my teachers taught me this. And as we talked about, I read things and they said this, or I looked at TV and it said this, or the movies gave me this idea. And so he just had all of that over the top. Well, we needed to start unpacking that. We need to start understanding, what have you decided from other people? What stories did you create about you? One of the things that when I work with people, they've got a story because they're not being true to themselves when they're doing that. They don't feel like they've lived up to it. So we'll feel things like, I'm letting people down, or I'm a failure, or I'm not successful like so-and-so is. I'm not as good a person as so-and-so is. And we're just comparing based on the set of agenda or whatever the case might be that was just decided upon without anyone really realizing that. And again, we're all here to do what we're here to do. We're here to be who we're here to be. So what Kaushik and I did was to start really questioning that. Is that really, can you absolutely know that that's what success looks like? Can you know that that's who you are? Can you know that that's what you want? And that can be what the painful part is, because we've believed it for quite some time. And when people say to me, look, this part of it is painful, I say to them, well, how painful is it to not be living your true self? To me, that was the most painful thing of all, by far. I mean, anything was worth facing except not being who I was, knowing that I was going through this life, not living the life I was really meant to be living, or not really meant to, but really, I really wanted to live. I really desired to live, being my true self, this experience that I wanted to have, the things I wanted to do with this life that is mine. And so we started to unpack it. We started to question it. We started to unravel it, go right back in time. Well, what did you learn about this? Who do you believe that you're letting down? And as he realized, topic after topic after topic just dissolved as we started to do that. Well, no, I don't know that that's what success really is. No, my parents will love me even if I don't do what they thought I should do. No, I can't know that what I learned at school was actually true to what I should be doing. No, I don't know that the TV was right. And so over time, we got to layers of it. So when Kaushik it wasn't like a jump from here to here, but when Kaushik said it took him that time, there were layers of authenticity that were happening. And I remember when Kaushik, as he said, it was a relatively recent phenomenon for him when he really just dropped into himself. There were no more questions. It was unmistakable. He just knew who he was. He knew what was important to him, and he knew what he wanted. And from that point, he said something that's quite important. He said, he created the flow, right? And I think it's quite important. I often work with athletes, high-level and professional athletes, and they commonly talk about getting in that flow. If you're an athlete, you know what I'm talking about. It's when you just something else takes you over, and you're like, I've seen some superhuman events, superhuman feats from athletes. You've probably seen them where you just go, well, how did they get to that level? How did they have that game or that race or whatever the case might be? It's in the zone. Kaushik mentioned resistance. It's when the resistance is gone. It's when we're fully connected to who and what we are. It's an unstoppable energy, and there is a flow to it. I think it's important, if we want to achieve our greatest success in life, we need to really understand that there is like a magic in this world, right? There's something about having clarity of mind. It's like when you think about a person, you really think about a person, and they show up. You might have not thought about them for years. It just happened to me. I thought of somebody I haven't thought of for 2 years, and then literally that week they contact me. It's like when you think of that, or you get really clear about something and you have a knowing, and then all of a sudden things open up to help you to achieve those things. Well, that's the way the world works. And our minds are so much more powerful than we think they are. And when we get authentic, then it really opens things up for us. So it's something that's quite important, but when we don't have authentic clarity, we don't connect with that. I had a business mentor once that said it was a real business strategy. So for those of you watching that are business owners and want to grow your business, he said, just think of people. If you want to grow your business, just think of people you want to serve. Really, really think about them, really care about them, and just watch what happens. On numerous occasions, I've had people contact me, or it's been incredible, some of the things that happen. So clarity of mind is important, but as Kaushik said, it may not be the easiest thing to be able to achieve. It's super important, though, because once we connect to who and what we really are, it's like the world opens up and gives us all the things that we need to be able to achieve it. And that's what Kaushik was talking about, the flow. And when we don't do that, perhaps you've had the experience that I do. When I'm not really authentic about what I want, I hit obstacles. It's not happening, and I call it struggle street, right? It's a struggle to get anywhere. So if you're really struggling, chances are that, struggling to get somewhere and have something you want, chances are you're blocked in some way. You're not being truthful to yourself. Like, we can't fake this stuff. That's what Kaushik was referring to. And I'd add to it that we can't fake it. That's why it takes a while, or can take a while, because true authenticity is true authenticity. We have to deal with what's in the way. But once we find that, we find that struggle street's finished. As Kaushik, said, resistance is gone. When we're truly connected to who and what we are, there's nothing in the way. There's no conflict. We're just clear about it. Now, I won't say that there's not challenges. We still get challenges, but we're in the flow. We deal with those challenges far more effectively. And the greatest thing that I've seen when I'm clear, I know I'm on the right path. I have certainty, and it just feels really good. Kaushik said something, and I think it's a good way to wrap this part of the segment up. He said, it's something he would never trade. And he's so thankful that he hung in there until the end to find that clarity, because his life will never be the same. And this is something that I've seen from people I work with. Once they get to that level of true connection and authenticity with who they are, their life is never the same. And I would encourage you, however you want to do it, I would encourage you to find that. It's a life that's just so different from any version of it that's lived for someone else. So I want to just take a moment to say thanks to Kaushik for his whole podcast episode, particularly for that, Jim. And I hope you'll take it away. Start questioning yourself. Hey, what's truly you? What's in the way? What are you doing because you think you should for other people? Start really questioning that, and start the process. I would suggest for you to really get true to who you are, connect with it, and you will never look back, like Kaushik said. So. Okay, we're going to take a look at another clip. This is from an episode with Christie Whitehill. She's a very successful woman and is an expert in the health industry, and shared something that will really give us an opportunity to delve into something more deeply regarding health, and particularly the connection between the mind and the body, and how we can utilize the mind to help with health conditions and with our overall health and well-being. So we're going to listen to a clip from Christy, and then we will come back and we'll unpack it.
Was just like depression, anxiety, so many different symptoms, and it was quite debilitating at the time. And but after 2 years of doing all these protocols, I was like, why am I not getting better?
Yeah.
And that's when I started going back to set work, and I reached out to you, and I was like, Shrita, I'm not getting better. Like, why is this? And then we started working on looking at what could have been those stories that I was really telling myself. And it was interesting because I remember when we uncovered that belief of, my body fails me, and realized that I was really treating myself not in a nice way. I was not talking to myself nicely at all.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, my symptoms started disappearing, and I was starting to get better. And it just, started dissipating, and I started getting my energy back, and, motivation. And I just think the correlation between your mind and your body is just so strong. And it doesn't matter what you could do physically if you're not also working on your mindset. Like, obviously it's all a holistic approach, but if you're not
Yeah.
also working on your mindset while you're trying to heal, feed your body good food, drink plenty of water, get sleep, all that kind of stuff your body does need, you know, it'll take a long time. And so now I'm like, anytime a symptom like will come up, I'm actually quick to go, okay, what emotional thing have I got going on right now? Or, that could be in correlation, or, as well as looking at food intake and that kind of thing. But it's just all linked, and it's so important to look at it holistically.
Yeah, precisely the question I ask when something is going on. So that's a powerful thing. I've had quite a few people say to me after that, what's going on there? Because, we have something going on with our health. We have our ways of dealing with it. We get down the medical path, or, whatever physical path that we do, we look at, that's how we tend to look at, hey, the body's a physical thing. So I'm going to apply a physical solution to a problem that I'm experiencing, which is, as Christy said, really important. But the number of times I've seen in my career where that just hasn't cracked through, where someone is doing everything that is being asked of them, or everything that they possibly can think of, and it just isn't cracking. Yet when we understand what's going on between the mind, and the body, then we can get some results that we otherwise may not have get. So before we go further, I can realize that this, for some of you, it might be, hey, I get this, and other people just might be, what is going on here? A connection between mind and body. So what I'd like to do in this podcast episode, before we go farther, is just to demonstrate a couple of simple demonstrations that can show us how the mind and body are connected, and how, when it comes to health conditions, health and well-being, or lack thereof, the mind has a very important part to play. So the first one would be, if you think of a time where you were either really afraid or really like panicky, afraid, or angry, or some really strong emotion. And so if you think of a time, and then as you go to that time, just examine where did you feel it in your body. So if it's panic, did your heart beat really fast? Did your stomach tighten up? Your neck tighten up? I've had people say many different things. I've had different reactions, head tightening, breath, going faster, or similar reactions to anger or whatever the strong emotion might be. The thing to see there is there's a physical manifestation to it, right? When there's a fear, there's a physical body manifestation to it. Okay, so if we now examine, if it's fear, for example, if we go to the moment and say, what did I feel fearful of? So for example, it might be, I saw a snake, or like a poisonous snake, or it could be my child was getting close to a car that was going by and I felt that, or it could be anything that causes that kind of reaction. If we were to freeze frame that moment of time, what we would find is that in that particular moment, nothing has happened yet, right? So in a case where we see a snake, there's nothing that's happened. We see a snake, it might be over somewhere, we're already having that experience. So why, that's assuming we have a fear of snakes, you might need to find something if not that. But why is the body reacting as if something has already happened? It's reacting because if we look carefully, our thinking is telling us something. There's danger. I'm going to get bitten. My child is going to get hurt. Whatever the case might be, it's a future that the mind is projecting that's causing the fear. Or if it's anger, it's like, what are we angry at? I'm angry because that person said something about me or didn't do what I wanted them to do. If we examine that, what we're really reacting to in the body is the thought of what's going on, not what's actually going on. This is super important, that the body is responding to thoughts. So if, for example, we have a particular worry that we have on a regular basis. I know I work with a lot of business people or successful people in sport and performance and all that kind of stuff. They can worry about results, worry about how things are going, or we worry about our children or our partners, spouses, or whatever the case might be, our health or or anything that we worry about or get angry about repeatedly. Well, our bodies are going through the same processes over and over again whenever we have that. Be it consciously or even unconsciously, our body continues to tighten, and it continues to tighten, or whatever reaction it has. So the question to look at is, how can we continue to do that and not have some sort of adverse reaction in the future, or as that continues to happen? It will. And so patterning of thought and emotion has something to do with the health. And what I found in my career is it's had quite a lot to do with it. So it's really important. The other thing to see, because this can even be deeply subconscious, if you think about, for example, a lemon, something really sour, or a food that if you really just think about that food you hate the most in the world, and you just look at it as if it's in your hand and you start eating it, you'll feel that there'll be a reaction in the body and there'll be nothing there. Like if you really try that exercise, it'll show you that the body's reacting to the thought of something happening, not the something that's happening. So this is an easy demonstration to see that the mind and the body are extremely connected. In fact, I would go as far as to say, where does one stop and one start? If we can think something and it has that kind of reaction, then the mind and body are connected. We know that when we think things, electrical impulses are what, through the neurological system, is what creates movement in the body. Well, that always starts as a thought. So there's a connection, a very strong connection between the mind and the body. And so when we can understand that, we can, of course we have to look after ourselves, and we have to get all the treatment that we feel is the right treatment to get when there's something going on. But are we addressing that? What mental pattern could be going on here? I remember working with an 8-year-old boy who for over 3 years had rashes all over his arms and gone through every kind of treatment possible, medical treatment, every kind of treatment, and it just wasn't changing. And when we started to speak, and I just went, okay, well, kind of red rashes. I said, it looks like he's angry. He was quite an introverted child from what I could pick up. And I just said, it feels like to me he's angry about something. So upon questioning, found out that he discovered that he felt that one of his parents really loved him and the other one really didn't. And of course that wasn't true, but it was what he perceived it to be for a period of time. And so we did some work to work that out, where he really at the end of it just woke up to how untrue that actually was, and how both parents were doing different things, but together they made up the love that he needed to blossom into the best, boy he could be, best person he could be. And when he snapped out of that, literally the rashes disappeared to not return. So there's profound things that can occur with the mind and the body. And, I really feel with Christie that we need to look after ourselves. Diet is important. Getting all the help that we can get is important. But I think people often miss one of the most important things of all in regards to health and well-being is our mind state. And if we look after that, it can contribute so much to having health and well-being. If we truly feel positive about life, about ourselves, about our prospects, about life itself, it's going to show up in the body, and vice versa. If we're stressed, if we're feeling that we're not succeeding, if we're feeling stressed about things like relationships or performance or any of that kind of stuff, then it's going to weigh on the bodies as well. So really, really powerful episode. Again, I'm appreciative for Christie for bringing this to light. And it's a topic that, I believe will come out a lot more in the podcast as other people have worked on their health and well-being. But I hope that you will take it forward. And if you want to start yourself, what you can think about is, what kind of health condition do you have? If you want to utilize this yourself, it's like, well, when did this start? Like, if you have something that you're dealing with, how far back does it go? And what was happening at that time? Was there some kind of traumatic thing happening at the time? Or was there something I started taking on and believing at the time? And, how is that still there with me, even in an unconscious way? You can even look at, are there flare-ups for this particular thing when I go through certain patterns? Often you can see that. And this is the way that you can start, and you can uncover the connection between mind and body. And, certainly if dealing with the mind aspect of it, at best, it's going to have an impact on the body quite directly. At worst, we're going to feel better. We're going to be more joyous. We're going to be more liked as we deal with those things. And that's going to have an impact on our overall health anyway. So again, thanks to Christie for that amazing episode. I want to say thanks to you for watching How to Be a Real 1%. I really hope that you've heard something today that you can take away and apply to your life to have your authentic success, and live your greatest life. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next edition of How to Be a Real 1%er.